I am old. I'm just an old fat fly. That's it. You know, I'm gonna be fly till I die, till you roll up in the casket. Hey, yo, what up, GQ? This is Fat Joe, and this is Iconic Tracks.
Be about us, be about you. Got to do with it.
Well, this record saved my life. I was going through a lot. I was going through a lot of depression. You know, I lost Pun. I lost my sister. I lost my grandfather all in about 2-3 weeks. You know, I went into depression. And thank God I seek therapy. And I went to therapy for 2 years. Through the process, I had met Irv Gotti. One day he called me when you still got phones in the house. It was like 3 a.m. He's like, yo, I got it. Yo, come to Sony Studio. So I go down to Manhattan. He pressed play. It's What's Love. And this is when they were like the Drake. When I get in there, they play it for me one time. I knew it was a smash. I had to do the lyrics, and then I did the hook. When I look at your eyes, there's no stopping me. I want the donja, we crack on top. That's something Pun had taught me. He had taught me so good, I gave him credit on the record. He taught me how to make bridges. Like Big Pun, although I discovered him, he sat me down on days where we was the most popping and we supposed to be in the street. It'd be sunny. He'd be like, yo, hold up. Let's make music. Hold up. Let me show you how to do this. Hold up. Although he wasn't on this earth, I still credited him and gave him a piece of the publishing to his family because What's Love was so inspired by what he taught me. So when I got signed to Atlantic Records, I never forget the speech. They said, you, my friend, are not Beyonce. If you miss one, your career is done. So I had to make hits every single time. So I trained myself to only make hits. When I heard it, it was a hit. And so they was trying to say, yo, throw J-Lo on it, she's big, this, that. And I was like, yo, what about the girl that's on there? And she ain't had nothing out yet. To me, it's always been about the integrity of the music. If I hear it and it's a hit, I don't care if you the biggest, you the smallest, it is what it is. You know, we rocking with it.
R to the easy, M to the wizard. My arms stay breezy, the dawn stay fizz. I got a date at 8, I'm in the 740 fizz. And I just bought a bike so I can ride till I die with a matching jacket. About to cop me a mansion. My squad in the club, but you know they not dancing.
It was another time I was fighting for my life. You know, I had got jerked from my publishing. I finally fought back to get my publishing. But meanwhile, I'm hearing Ludacris, all these guys getting $1 million deals. So I'm thinking the minute I get my shit back, I'm going to get me $1 million deal. So I went around town, and the biggest offer was like $250. I had met Scott Storch, so I went down to Florida, and we cut Lean Back. I wrote 2 versions. I wrote Lean Back, the girl for girls, and then I wrote the I don't give a fuck about your faults or mishaps. We from the Bronx, New York. And I remember I was almost scared to lean back. Like I was riding around Manhattan, middle of the night, just listening. When I think I got one, like I really go in and try to like really knock it out. And then the hook, you know, I always give credit to the Jamaicans. At the time they had signal to play, already man, all right away, right? And they had these dances. I was like, yo, we gotta do a dance like the Jamaicans, like lean back, and we just kept it. And that was that. I had 3 verses. That was my solo song. I went to eat some McDonald's with Calla when I came back. I'm like, yo, what's up? And they were like, Remy erased your second verse. And she put a verse on there. I said, what? She was in the corner. They pressed play. R to the easy, M to the wizard, a Dawn State. I was like, yo, that shit crazy. I love that shit. Remy thugged away on that, and she thugged away on MOP's Andy Yuck. She was hungry. Remy was down with us since she was about 16. Mm-hmm. Pun met her, he said, yo, drop out of school. You don't need that shit. We're going to make you a star. She did that. And I had been looking, you know, they had Foxy, they had Kim, they had Eve. I've been looking for a female rapper in Terror Squad. And when she came, she was so incredible. And she says I was ice grilling her while she was rapping. And when we walked off, Pun was like, yo, what you think about it? Truly, I was like, oh my God, this is the greatest girl in the world. But I was like, she all right. He was like, nah, Twinz, she gonna be your rapper. I was like, yo, she's incredible, B. She came with us on tour. She might have been 17 on tour, like around America. I remember one time I caught her selling weed. I threw her off the bus. I was like, what the fuck you doing selling weed with fucking rappers? You think we were driving across America with 10 pounds of weed? Like, Remy the real deal. I had met Kevin Hart on the set of a Scary Movie where I went against Eminem in the Scary Movie. Kevin Hart was an extra. And so while we ate, we kept snapping on each other, telling jokes and this and this and that. So I took his number. When I thought of the concept of Lean Back, somebody not being able to let people in the party, I didn't want it to be a big guy. So I called up Kevin and I said, yo, come through. He came, he did that. That was iconic. At the time, Little John, that what was crazy. So while he was like, y'all can't come in here, Little John was like, what? Y'all can't come in here, what? It was just so many different elements to the video that was fire. Let me hear, yeah! Yeah! Got Mace back. Well, Mace was the king. And he disappeared, went to church, whatever. And I remember the way I got Mace was the way I got Eminem. Mace is one of Eminem's favorite rappers ever. Mace was Kanye's favorite rapper. So I told Eminem I had Mace, but I didn't have Mace. And he was like, yo, send me the verse. So I had to find Mace. And then Mace did it for me. I know Mace since he was a kid with Big L and all them. And then Eminem heard it and jumped on it. Eminem was a perfectionist, so he sent the same verse like 40 times. Then I sent it to Little John to give it that South, because that South was winning crazy. That record possibly doesn't blow up without Little John throwing us on Summer Jam. New York fronted on me. They didn't give me a slot. It was Little John who put us on Summer Jam, and we came out and did Lean Back. That shit was like 3 days after we dropped it. 62,000 people leaning back. Certain records just like forever. It's that Lean Back forever. Every time I play it, if I played it right now, bam, 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 be brand new. One thing about Lean Back, it never gets old.
New York, I got 100. I'm from New York, New York. And you can tell the way the homies spit that guy, I'm from New York.
New York's my second favorite song that I ever participated in. What happened to Ja Rule? I don't want to compare it to that because it's blasphemy to even talk like that, but it was like Jesus carrying the cross. The man went from being the biggest hit maker, the biggest guy in the game, to somebody warm with him and everybody turning on him. Me knowing him as a real brother, he was such a beautiful person, beautiful guy. I never understood why this was happening to him. But like I told you, I was loyal to him. When he's going through his war, I got the New York record. I'm like, yo, let's give it a job. I got Jadakiss on the record for him too. I think this is part of the reason why 50 Cent started dissing me. He thought he finished him. But that's just me being loyal to my friend. I'm stuck with Ja Rule. They book us together. We've been all around the world together. We best friends, we family. We did verses together. I'm just looking at him like, yeah, I'm really stuck with this guy. Thank God, him and Irv, they saved my life. And that's why I went to war with 50 with him. Because it was just like, these guys came, saved my life at a time I really needed them. And I'm from the school of don't bite the hand that feeds you. But New York, it was like the Pied Piper. We shot the video in the Bronx, Queens, all over, and people were just coming out the fire escapes, coming out the basements. The only record that ever beat us, good old Jay-Z and Alicia Keys, New York. We had it for like a year or two where I was like, we got the greatest New York record of all time. It's over. We got this. Frank Sinatra. And then they came with that. I said, shit. I'm not in New York. The Knicks used it all day. It's probably the second best New York record of all time.
I make it rain on them hoes. I make it rain. I make it rain. I make it rain on them hoes. I make it rain. I make it rain. I make it rain on them hoes.
Crack. You hear the echo. Man, I've seen the best go. Cause seeing how that meadow.
I had went on a tour, but not a real tour. It was a tour of NBA and I think Budweiser. And so after every game in every city, they would throw a party. And I was just hosting it with whoever the star was. So if I was in Philly, it was me and AI. If I was in Memphis, it was me and Zach Randolph. Everywhere was playing nothing but South music in the club. And so I had realized that East Coast and New York dominance beats was out of here. One night I'm in Memphis and the DJ plays till like 2 in the morning. The club's about to shut down. He said, let me throw it back. The Rock Boys in the building tonight. But the problem was that was the hottest record out. And because of the sound, he called it a throwback. And I said, oh shit, we done. Like the South is running this shit. So I remember I got on the plane. So all night I had watched this heavyset girl. She was by a speaker, dancing. And so when I go to Miami, I book studio with Scott Storch the next day. I have breakfast in a diner with my man Stan. He's the hottest executive in the game, but at the time he knew nothing about the music business. So we having breakfast, and he was like, yo, man, I was in the strip club last night, and these guys, they was just throwing money in the air. Before that, you would tip a girl. I was like, money in the air? Like what? He was like, money in the air. I said, so you mean like when you threw it up, it was like drizzling back, like it was coming down. He was like, yeah. I was like, they was making it rain in that motherfucker. I go to the studio that night and I tell Scott Storch, let's work. So he's like, what you want to do? And I said, this. You digging in the crates, you Fat Joe, you New York, you can't rap to that. Before that, nobody was rapping to that. And then while he's making the beat, I'm thinking about the girl who's dancing to the speaker. And I'm like, nah, she ain't dancing, And everybody looking at me like they crazy. I said, she ain't going to that, she ain't dancing. Then he finally programmed the drums and everything to where I was like, yeah, this is it. Because I studied the girl, how she was dancing. So that's how I figured out the tempo. And so I had wrote the hook, and I had the hook. And then I went and played it for Irv Gotti, and Irv Gotti said, yo, hey, Lil Wayne, your man? I said, yeah, it's my brother. He was like, yo, send it to him, tell him to do that hook over. And he did it, and that was it.
I'm in this bitch terror, got a head full of stacks, better grab an umbrella, I make it rain.
I made so much money off Make It Rain. I mean, I couldn't stop the checks from coming. It's real talk. It was my first independent record, too. And it proved that I could do numbers like that independent. Wayne is a GOAT. He's the first rapper since Tupac Shakur to have that type of work ethic. The way you see the youth now working, Lil Wayne discovered that. Being in the studio 7 days a week, I don't care where you at, Wayne was just working. Lil Wayne come from New Orleans. So he's the first rapper who spit bars, but had those South flows that was just crazy. And so after Katrina, he had came down to Miami, him and the Bourbon, and I moved down to Miami. I was already there. And so we was working together every day. I mean, Miami was just love. It would be Pitbull in one studio, Wayne in one studio, and Ross in one studio, and Khaled and me in one studio. And we did mad songs together at that time. We was just jumping on tracks and helping people. I actually felt like they was happy to, help.
Johnny Blaze ain't a damn thing changed.
It's simple mathematics, you gotta love us. Cause Joey Crack plus Gad equals a lot of dead motherfuckers. Just when you thought I was done, I recruited Pun. Terror Squad, Enterprise, Undisputed done.
That was it. That was the meeting of the minds. It was the kings of kings. So we had Nas, we had Jada, we had Pun. You know how hard it was to get Nasty Nas on a feature at that time? Pun was so hyped to rhyme with Nas. I'm the kid out of the Bronx that'd stomp you to death like it didn't matter. Pun ain't blow yet at that time. They knew he was gonna blow. Raekwon the Chef. Well, Raekwon the Chef, besides Nori, he's possibly my best friend in hip hop. We had Mac 10 in the video, bringing the East Coast, West Coast. MC8 was in the video. It was an amazing time, man, and everybody was just on fire. I've always loved to collaborate with the youth and collaborate with the older, collaborate with Jamaicans, collaborate with reggaeton artists. I feel like music is the universal language. Music is the one thing that brings us all together besides sports. So I always understood and I always loved the art of collaboration. I've always loved to work with artists. You know what I mean? It's always been my thing.
All the way up, nothing can stop me, I'm all the way up.
For my niggas with Bentley Coupes and Rolexes. Kicked the bitch out the room and gave her no breakfast.
All the way up, saved my life, came out of jail. I remember going in the studio every night with Cool and Dre, all the young guys, because we got a studio where we got like 3 rooms. I remember the young guys with the fucking purple hair, the yellow hair, rappers was looking at me like, what this old nigga doing in the studio? But I remember one time it was a young dude and Cool and J was like, yo, he spends a lot of money here, really wants you to hear his music. When I heard that music, you know, it was a time when anybody thought they could rap. And so when I heard it, I told Cool and J, first time in my life, and I swear I'm not a hater, I said, yo, me or the guy gotta go. Like, I cannot have this energy nowhere near me. So they got rid of him, and I sat in the couch, and then we came up with All the Way Up. Remy just did 8 years in jail. They was fucking with her, giving her the toughest time you ever seen. No permission, she couldn't do no shows. And so I went with her, and I said, yo, Rem, I think, you know, I got it. I think people love Fat Joe and Remy together. If we knock this out the park, we might have another lean back. When it came time, I mean, an ill moment is we did the BET Awards. And I don't care what you say. Maybe some artists, I don't think they care, but to come back from jail to be performing on the BET Awards in front of Samuel Jackson and everybody, and I remember me and her, we grabbed each other's hand and we squeezed it tight. Like we wanted to feel this moment. Then we did the remix. Now the remix, Drake called me 3 times FaceTime and kept saying, send the files, send the instrumental, send the instrumental. 50 Cent called. But me and Jay-Z had beef forever. And it finally was over. And I said, yo, man, I would love to hear myself with Jay-Z. And you know, he's Remy's favorite rapper. And I just made the call. I hit up Nori. Nori called Memphis Bleak. 10 minutes later, Jay-Z called me. He was like, yo, I can't wait. Let's go. I just saw a 50 Cent interview where 50 Cent said, Fat Joe is loyal to a foe. Anybody else in the history of mankind would have got a whole verse and threw the Drake in there, but I knew it would have been iconic with just Jay-Z. I just felt like for the fans that really, really knew, it would mean so much for Fat Joe and Hov being on one song together.
Y'all wanna live my lifestyle. Never seen a brick, never seen a crack house.
My lifestyle is like every hood's favorite track. It's the real deal. I remember I was shooting the movie Empire, and I remember I hit Buck Wild up, and I was like, yo, Buck, you got any beats? And he came with the na. And every time I got a break, I would go in the trailer and pen another line. And it was like, I stand alone in this cold world. Could you believe that? I see them good men get blown over G-Packs in the Bronx where it's known I had a heat clap. And live, get it on with the D-Tex. Shit, my life's legendary. If I wrote it all down in a book, it would be very scary. What you know, 16 Beamers and Benzes, rope chains down on the piece looked tremendous. That was really a reflection of my life. Like, that's how I grew up. You know, I've been feeding 10 guys since I'm 14 years old. Like, imagine going to the ghetto Chinese and one guy pays for the 10 guys pork fried rice and chicken. Like, I've been a boss since I'm 14. And a lot of guys in this game, unfortunately, I didn't realize it was entertainment at that time. You know, I never forget I rushed to a Mobb Deep show when they came out, no disrespect, they was this tall. I was like, yo. They were so small, security was carrying them. Listen, Prodigy's one of the greatest ever. Havoc's my man forever, let's be clear on that. They my friends, I love them. But you know, it's just a story I have to tell.
Crack more if they move noodle dead in the middle of little did we know every riddle to middleman who didn't do diddly. Here to be a cold day and how the day I take it now. Make no mistake, for real, I wouldn't hesitate to.
Twinz my favorite record I ever did. East Coast, West Coast, coming right out of that beef. Pun is coming out. So I wanted to pick a beat that DJs in the West Coast and the East Coast was familiar with. So the reason we picked Deep Cover is because it had that New York sound, but it was really a West Coast song. You know, the funny thing is, the Dead in the Middle of Little Italy, that was like a joke to Pun. He never really took that serious as like bars. And he listened to me, he did it. One thing about success in life, if you're uncoachable, then you'll never be successful. You got the best basketball player in the world. If he don't listen to the coach, he's bound to make a mistake in the championship game. But Pun would listen to me and respect my opinion, even though he was light years better than me. I remember we did the Apollo. We came out, we both had the gray furs on. His shit said Big Pun inside, Fat Joe. We was getting money, the gray leather pants. And every time we came out, it was like boom, boom, boom. We was coming out to that. And it was like dead in the middle of the, and the balcony at the Apollo looked like it was literally gonna crack. It was like going to see Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey. Like they could not believe that they heard it on the song, but they never seen a big boy do that. Guys was trying to run up the wall, climb up the, they was, you know, it was one of those moments. I'm one of the only guys that got into beef with the West Coast physical. And then Farrakhan had threw a summit in his house. Once again, they invited the whole New York, they invited the whole West Coast. I was the only New York rapper that showed up, and Dougie Fresh showed up. And I went at it with Ice Cube, I went at it with everybody, like, you know, went at it, like, you know, going crazy. Snoop and Mus became cool. That's where me and Mac 10 became brothers. And, you know, they respected me going to war for New York face to face. The minute I called them, we knew after we left there, Farrakhan, Minister Farrakhan, that made it clear, yo, Biggie died, Tupac died, you're gonna play yourselves if you want to. So we all tried to leave that meeting knowing let's gel again, let's end this. And so when I called Snoop, he was like, yo, I'll do it real quick, Joe, no problem. And he did it for me, and it was amazing.
Watch how I wreck it. Brothers watch your back, cause things are getting hectic. I catch vibes like Count Basie. Sucker won't face me. I'm so much flavor, you can taste me.
You know, I was in them streets. So what I could tell you is Diamond D saved my life. One of the greatest producers of all time. He discovered me. He's the one who made me get off the street and say, yo, Joe, man, you gotta stop. They're gonna kill you out here. And then Diamond was like, why don't you say your story on music? He was already, you know, popping. Diamond was popping, digging in the crates. And he was like, I'm gonna pay for the studio. You come, I'll give you the beats. He really helped me, man. He was a real friend. We went to the studio, and I remember he played the boom, boom. So it sounded like Fat Joe. And at the time, I was Fat Joe. I remember I had my first show at a club called A Fever in the Bronx. And I was so nervous because they had started playing it on the radio. I was like, is anybody coming? And then we sent people over there and came back. It was like, yo, there's lines around the block. You lit, but whatever the word was, you know what I'm saying? The game just keep moving. So Flojo was hot for a year and a half, 2 years. And then it was like, how many times you want me to hear Flojo? What you coming with next? So that was like the entry level. On my TV show, I interviewed LL Cool J the other day. We in Beverly Hills, and he looked at me and said, you know what I'm thinking? I said, no, what you thinking? He was like, I'm looking at the guy with the army fatigue right now, who used to have his eyes like this. He said, you know, you used to look in people's souls, Joe.
You know I got the flow.
I can't believe you got a talk show, you changed, you were found. I'm like, yo, all week I've been like, you know, ever since I did the interview, I've been like, wow, I'm the kid with the army fatigue. It's crazy.
Don't you be holding back your love, don't you be holding back. Cause in the end, girl, you're gonna want another round.
Another saved my life. I was at a low time, and the US promoters, they was playing with my bag. They didn't want to give me my worth. But Africa, for some reason, US rappers ain't really want to go out there like that. So Fat Joe was getting all the bags. So I was out in Africa for like 2 years straight. Every country, and every single, do you know there's a country in Africa called Djibouti? It's called Djibouti. I've been there. And then we had one big concert that it was Timberland, Sierra, Chris Brown, and me. And I'm hanging out with Chris Brown. I know him since he was a kid. I was there when Scott Storch made his first song. And then he was like, yo, Crack, we gotta work. I said, now, Chris, I'm not the guy you say that to. I'm low. Like, I really need a comeback record. I was like, I'm not the guy you promised that to and you disappear. Or, nah, Crack, just send the joint. So I was already working. So I went up to, back to Miami and got with Cool and Dre. And we actually, that hook was 3 songs, 3 different hooks. Excuse me, ladies, but you know, I remember I used to be in Club Live and Lil Wayne had that song, I wish I could fuck every girl in the world. I wish I could fuck every girl in the world. And I used to watch Lil Wayne because he was in Live every Sunday. He'd be like pointing at all the girls. And so when we wrote that, it said, I want you and her and her and her and you and her. And it was just too much fuckery going on in that record. And then Chris sent that back the next day. And then we went out to LA and shot the video. That was another money maker, man. That was going.
And even if she all about the money, I don't really care. Yeah. I got a lot of money, it's enough of it that we can share. Wanna steal my pride and joy.
Pride and Joy was a hit. It was coming right after Another Round. And Rico Love had the hot pen. It was a hit. And Bink did the beat. And then Kanye had heard it. He was like, yo, I want to do something to it and let's work together. At the time, Kanye could not lose. So Kanye said, yo, let's make it hip hop. And he put the hip hop drums. And then we invited everybody and their mother. I think Jadakiss, Busta, Mos Def. I mean, all of us did that. Even if she all about the money, I don't really care. He made me do my verses, same verse, but say it over and over maybe 300 times. My guys want to beat him up. It was like, yo, come on, man, fuck out of here with this. And he'd be like, cul-de-sac, you know, cul-de-sac. He would leave. Okay, it was here in the jungle room. He had like Travis Scott in the next room. That's where I met Travis Scott. He had everybody. He'd come back, cul-de-sac. I'm like, this is the great Kanye, right? And I'm his OG. I love the finished product. I love how my verses came out. That sound really great, but he's a tough one. He's a tough to work one, but it was an honor to work with him. He's my favorite rapper of the last half of my whole career. You know, to this day, it's the only guy I compare my music to. With this new album, The World Changed on Me. Anything Kanye do, I'm with. Like, you know, your man Kanye made me hire hype. Boy, Hype William will charge you $400,000. I'm independent, bro. And the only thing Kanye ever charged me for is his wardrobe. And I remember Kim Kardashian came with him, and I walked through his wardrobe, and it was like tank tops for like $8,000. I was like, yo, what the fuck is this? They're like, nah, it's from France, you know, special tank top. I was like, man, listen, I lost a lot of money on that Pride and Joy. I mean, at least the visual is great, the song is great, it's there for hip hop history.
It's up in the morning, girl, and the DJ playing that song. Now what you gonna do? What you gonna do?
You know, I hated that song. It went #1 in America, like hot Billboard 100, but we planned it. And shout out to my brother Nelly for doing it with me, and I love him, and I love that I collaborated with him. But that record, man, it was a genetically made hit, like a clone. Like we said, all right, this is a hit. We're gonna do it like that. Cool and Dre made the beat, it was incredible. Then I was like, I gotta rhyme like this, and then we're gonna get Nelly right here. And then it's gonna be a hit, and the motherfucker went #1. And I perform it to this day, and everybody loves it. You know, I like that Lean Back came out with like, I don't give a fuck about your faults or mishaps. We from the Bronx, New York, shit. Could you imagine that playing on Z100 and every opera station? But it did. And then it was like white people discovered I was Joey Crack. So they would have like Saturday Night Live and show clips of me, the crack of my ass, and be like, they call him Joey Crack. The shit was insane. You know what I mean? But that came organic. That came authentically became a hit.
To all the ladies in our lives, you heard? Strong, independent women. Come on.
All I Need from back in the day. Underrated song. I thought it was like a real hit. I thought it could have been a real classic, a hit. Tony Sunshine, he's one guy who I think is a superstar, but never really got his really just due. Idris Elba, well, I was the first to put him on something. He tried out for the video, and we said, yo, that's the dude. And my wife was like, yo, this is a handsome guy right here, right? It's cool. And the lead girl for that was supposed to be Sofia Vergara. She was supposed to do it the last second she backed out, and I offered her the bag you know. And then we used the other girl from The Best Man. She's a big actress. She was nice. Man, we did it on Biggie's block. That was shot on the brownstone in front of Biggie's block. And so I remember all the Junior Mafia coming by. Yo, Joe, you good? I'm like, yeah, we good. You know, it's like, all right, my brother, whatever you need. That shit was cold. But you seen that chocolate Sherlin. You know, I need that Sherlin in my life now. Like, you know, we've been acting dumb out here with the fashion forever. It's a lot of people's favorite song, Fat Joe ever did, All I Need.
Whoa now, Big Joe now. I'm worldwide, yeah, everywhere I go now. Whoa now, mommy slow down. I'm undefeated when they come and knocking hoes down. Yup, whoa now, baby slow down. She wants Chanelly and the Burke, she get both now.
Yo, Paradise, my latest single. Khaled had this track for his album, and I heard it. Now the sample was from the legendary Stevie B, Latino icon, legend. The song itself was called Spring Love, and I grew up to that. And so as soon as I heard it, I knew what the song would be for me being a Latino. And it's very rarely Fat Joe has a song that's Latino driven. Like, I make music for everybody, but I knew the minute I heard the sample, I was like, yo, this gotta be mine. So I had to fight him. He didn't want to give it up. I kept going on him. I think finally his wife was like, Khaled, you're selfish. And he finally gave in. He said, I'll only give you this track if you get the Brazilian girl, Anita. So I said, don't worry, I'll find her. My girl that been my massage specialist in Miami, she been massaging me for 10 years. She was like, her manager's my client. You crazy? She put me on the phone with her manager, Rebecca. Crazy thing is, Anita back in Brazil, she joined a talent show, and the judge who picked her to win was Stevie B. I work very, very hard on this song. I swing for the fences all the time. I either hit a grand slam or I don't do it. So we got artists from my era and all that, they're putting out records. Fat Joe puts out hits. It's doing really, really well. We shot the video in Washington Heights. We was just jumping out everywhere with the camera with Eve Rivera. The thing I loved about her is she's such a huge superstar at this moment right now. She was down for this. She was with the shits. We was jumping out in the projects, jumping out everywhere. She was jumping out, rocking, and I was like, wow, that's great. The name of the album is The World Changed on Me. There's so many different ways the world changed on me. The world is going through a gentrification, the culture, the hip hop. And I'm like the last grumpy bodega owner that's like, yo, I'm not selling. The album's amazing. It's crazy. I know everybody gonna come over here and tell you, I'm old, but I'm just so current. And so when you hear me rap, it don't sound like a guy telling you, I used to be the man in 9-6. I was just, nah, that shit right now. It's you feel like the music's still Joe Crack, but when you hear the lyrics, you're gonna be like, oh, he know what time it is right now. We ain't telling you an old story, you know, shining off the dust and all that. We popping right now. I am old. I'm just an old fat fly nigga, that's it. You know, I'm gonna be fly till I die, till you roll up in the casket. You gotta elevate with whatever fashion or whatever everything is going. You gotta move with it. A lot of guys I came up with, they stay stuck and they try to look like when they was popping.
Is there other younger artists you wanna work with?
Do I appreciate their music? Yes. Have I heard somebody lately that blew my mind? No. I'm just keeping it a buck. I didn't catch that new breath of fresh air that motivates me, and when I hear them, you know, hip hop is all about hearing something that inspires you to just go and work, and you be like, oh no, I gotta do something. This is hot like that. They doing love songs now. They doing, this shit is crazy out here, man. Like, I came from, you know, Illmatic. I came from Ready to Die. I came from Reasonable Doubt. I came from Eminem blowing your mind. When Eminem first came out, he blew our minds. Like, we were like, yo, what is this white boy doing? Like, he's crazy. Like, you asking that? No. Am I supporting the youth? Am I loving the youth? You know, do I want them to be successful and keep doing their thing? Yeah. You know, the best thing we had was the Drake Kendrick thing, and they're older. They're younger than me, but they're older.